Good morning. Welcome to the 2021 MakeMore Manufacturing Summit Business Growth Segment. My name is Zoraida Velasco, Executive Vice President at Florida Makes, and I'll be your MC today and tomorrow. Before we kick off today's program, I invite you to join us for live networking at the Made in Florida Showcase Expo. At the Expo, you'll be able to connect with Florida's manufacturing stakeholders. This virtual exhibition hall features booths from the Sterling Manufacturing Business Excellence Award finalists, MakeMore sponsors, partners, plus live networking via Zoom hosted by Florida's Regional Manufacturers Associations. Live networking will end at 8:30, but all booths will be available on demand through Manufacturing Month in October. Yes, 4 full months. So come back and visit at your leisure. Now, before you go, we have an incentive for you to visit all the booths before the end of the day tomorrow. Those who do visit all the booths and leave a message in the chat function of each booth will be entered to win one of our Made in Florida gift baskets. These baskets have been put together by the Regional Manufacturers Associations with an article or articles from their member manufacturers. The coolest thing about these baskets, everything in them, yep, you guessed it, has been made in Florida. So those who visit all the booths between today and 5 o'clock tomorrow will be entered to win a basket. Now, to enter the expo, click on the Made in Florida logo on the left side of your screen. A new web browser will open and you can select what region in Florida you'd like to network with or what sponsor or partner booth you'd like to learn more about. You can jump from booth to booth or for the next 30 minutes by going back to the browser that will open when you click that Made in Florida networking icon on the left. Enjoy. I'll see you back here at 8:30 sharp. We're about to resume the program, so please join us back at the browser where the event is hosted. Good morning. To those of you joining us from the Expo, welcome back. And to those who are just joining us, welcome to the 2021 MakeMore Manufacturing Business Growth segment. If you participated in live networking, I hope you enjoyed meeting other manufacturing stakeholders across the state. If you missed networking, please make sure you introduce yourself in the chat and tell us why you're here. How did you hear about the MakeMore Summit? We will have live networking again for another 30 minutes at the end of today's program. So hang in there with us for the next 2 hours for another opportunity to contact and connect with other fellow attendees. Before we get into the fun stuff, let me go over some housekeeping that will make your virtual experience with us today smoother. If you're having technical difficulties, please click on the yellow square with the question mark found on the bottom of your screen. You can also email events@floridamakes.com with any questions, or our team at the studio here by downloading the event support contact sheet from the resources box. Or even easier, submit your questions through the Q&A box on the left of your screen. Anything you submit through that Q&A box will be sent privately to our production team here in the studio. If you'd like to interact with other attendees, you'll need to click on the group chat icon, which is the icon on the far right of the engagement tool at the bottom of your screen. It's through this chat that you'll be able to participate when polling or opportunities to win more prizes come up. The 3 buttons under breakout session topics are where you will have to click on later today to access those live rooms during session 1 of the program. If the media player you're watching me disappears, it's because inadvertently you've minimized it. To get it open back up, simply click on the red icon with the triangle inside of a square that looks like a play button right here on the bottom. You can also manipulate the size of the media player in the console by moving it around on the screen. If you're watching from a large monitor, sometimes the layout gets a little wonky and you'll want to adjust where your engagement tools are placed in the screen. Furthermore, today's sessions are being recorded and you'll be able to view them later on demand. They're also being recorded because Florida Tax Watch will be writing a report summarizing our discussions and issuing recommendations based on your feedback throughout the summit. Finally, we'll be using the polling tool in your console to collect your input live and the survey tool to collect your feedback once the segment adjourns. Let's give it a try. Our production team just launched a poll that should have generated a pop-up window on your screen. And it says, what city are you watching from today? We'll give it a few seconds to let everyone enter their answers. And I'll wait here for my studio crew to let me know if people have completed that poll. Please type in what city you're watching from today. And it looks like the most popular city is Jacksonville, Florida. If you had any trouble using this tool, please send us a message. Making sure you're comfortable with all the engagement tools we have made available for you is very important to us. We want to make sure we capture your opinions so that we can formulate collective actions together later. Plus, it is through these engagement tools that you'll be able to win prizes throughout the summit. So now that we've gotten all the technical stuff out of the way, let me tell you about Florida Makes and the MakeMore Manufacturing Initiative. Florida Makes is a statewide, industry-led, public-private partnership operated by an alliance of Florida's regional manufacturers associations with the sole mission of strengthening and advancing Florida's economy by improving the competitiveness, productivity, and technological performance of its manufacturing sector, with an emphasis on small and medium-sized firms. Since our inception in 2016, Florida Makes has had an economic impact of $2.5 billion, with almost 16,000 jobs created and or retained. Now, that impact has been made possible thanks to the organizations that comprise the Florida Makes Network, which logos are being displayed on your screen. MakeMore was born in 2018 as a leadership-focused initiative originally developed by Florida Makes in partnership with Associated Industries of Florida, Courier Source Florida, Enterprise Florida, the Florida Chamber of Commerce. As a collective goal, these hosting partners want to elevate the state's more than 21,000 manufacturing companies and demonstrate their impact on the economy. Our organizations recognize the importance of diversifying our economy and prioritizing the growth of an industry that provides high-wage, high-value jobs, which can ultimately improve Florida's quality of life. Now, we're not the only ones who believe in manufacturing, though. We have sponsors who have made a commitment to helping us achieve that goal. Special thanks to Kaufman, Rawson, Synovus, the Florida Economic Development Council, and the rest of the organizations you see on the screen. I encourage you to visit their booths at the Made in Florida Showcase Expo to learn more about them. It's the financial and in-kind contributions of our sponsors and partners that make the summit possible. In its third edition, the MakeMore Manufacturing Summit will take place across 3 virtual events and 1 in-person gathering. The business growth segment today and tomorrow, followed by the talent development segment in July, technology in August, and an in-person event during manufacturing month in October that will highlight a recap of these 3 segments and offer an outlook for the future of Florida's manufacturing. The COVID-19 pandemic has underscored manufacturing's role in providing products that are critical to health, safety, national security, and the continuity of multiple industries. It has also revealed the extent to which global supply chains are exposed to shocks and disruptions. All of this has occurred at a moment when technologies, process innovations, and demand growth are reshaping the sector worldwide. So this segment's focus on business growth today couldn't be more timely. I must say I was thrilled to see how many leaders on our attendee list come from the worlds of economic development, education and training, government, trade associations, and most importantly, manufacturing. If you haven't done so yet, please introduce yourself in the group chat box at the bottom of the screen. As I said earlier, your voice during today's discussion is important. Please use that chat box or the Q&A box to submit your questions and comments to the speakers live. We want you to exchange ideas with them and with other attendees. Our goal is to foster a dialogue about the importance of growing Florida's manufacturing sector and the resources available to make that possible. Together, we can advance Florida's economy. As long as we collaborate and leverage our resources, we will be able to accelerate the productivity and technological performance of the state's manufacturing sector. As of last October, Florida ranked 30th for manufacturing productivity in the U.S., Our collective work through the MakeMore initiative will increase our ranking further in the future. In 2016, that number was 34, so we are making progress. Our efforts will help us reach the Florida's Chamber 2030's blueprint goal of becoming top 5 state for manufacturing jobs from our current ranking of 12 in the U.S. As a matter of fact, our opening keynote, Adrienne Johnston, is here today to talk to us just about that. Manufacturing jobs, growth, and the data behind them. Her data talks. Adrienne Johnston is the director of the Florida Department of Economic Opportunities Division of Workforce Services. She will set the stage for our conversation throughout the morning by providing an overview of the manufacturing industry in Florida and her perspective on what the future holds for this. Adrienne, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Hi, thank you, Zoraida. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. Good morning, everyone. I'm happy to share some information about the current labor market landscape for manufacturing in particular. So my name is Adrienne Johnston. I am the Director of Workforce Services for the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity. I'm going to be walking through some statistics today about where we stand with the current economic and labor market information picture specific to manufacturing. So just for context, I want to share a little bit about where this information is coming from. So this comes from our Bureau of Workforce Statistics and Economic Research. It's important to know that the data is actually, it comes from employers in our state. So we always want to say a huge thanks to employers. Without you, we would not be able to produce these statistics and provide this information. So thank you for that. It's also important to understand that this information is collected through a federal state cooperative agreement. And the reason why that's important is it means it's comparable across the country, so we can compare ourselves to other states and local areas can compare themselves. And then also the methodologies are consistent. That's just kind of a little bit of the housekeeping and where this information comes from. So I'm going to kind of dive into kind of overall where we are as a state and kind of what our current economic picture is. And so starting with the unemployment rate, I like to show this for historical context, especially right now, so that you can see kind of where we've been and where we are in relation to the most recent economic event, which of course is the result of COVID-19. So on this graphic, you can see here the Great Recession. That was a much more gradual event. So you can see that our unemployment rate took several months to reach its peak, and then it slowly recovered over a few years. This last event was a very different picture related to our unemployment. And we saw a very sharp increase in the unemployment rate in just 2 months' time. And so we actually went from pretty much a historic low in February of 2020 to a historic high for our unemployment rate by May of 2020. So very, very short time period where we had drastic changes. We also had a lot of people moving out of the labor force at that time. But then you also see a quick recovery. And so now we stand at 4.9%. That was just announced last week. So for the month of May, we saw 4.9%. We also are seeing people coming back into the labor force. They're more confident about participating in employment. And so right now we're on a much quicker footing in terms of our recovery. So next I wanted to just show kind of a similar picture, but this is for our total non-agricultural employment. So this kind of gives you that benchmark as we get into the specifics related to manufacturing. This is what we look like for all industries. And again, you can see very similar trend. You see a little bit of a bump in those years right before the Great Recession, a decline, and then a gradual, steady, healthy increase all the way up through February of 2020, and then a very sharp decline, and then a steep recovery as well. This is just another way to kind of view that, but it really puts it in perspective with other recessions, recessionary periods that we've experienced in the past. So the black line there is the COVID-19, the pandemic-related recession that we've just experienced. And you can see kind of what's notable here is that at about 14 months in the Great Recession, we hadn't reached the bottom yet. We were still losing jobs during that period, whereas 14 months in to this this period, we're actually well on our way to recovery, and we've recovered over 60% of the jobs so far. So a very different picture compared to what we've experienced in the past. And we all know this isn't a traditional recessionary event. So we would expect to see some differences, but I think this really highlights what we're experiencing right now. So just want to move into kind of breaking that down by industry. So this gives a view of our top industries in the state by employment. So professional and business services is our top employer as of May 2021. You can see manufacturing is kind of in the middle there at over 380,000 jobs. And then the smallest industry in our state is information. So specifically looking at this last year, we know that different industries were impacted differently by the pandemic. So we are seeing some of the job gains very differently. Some of the jobs are being gained very differently across industries as a result of that. So leisure and hospitality is our biggest driver for job gains over the year. That's primarily because it was the biggest loser during the pandemic of jobs. We thought that's followed by professional and business services. That industry is actually coming back quite strong. It's almost back to pre-pandemic levels. I mean, you can see manufacturing has pretty healthy over the year change in employment, kind of relative to the total employment in the industry. So shifting into a focus on manufacturing, which is what we're here to talk about. So this particular graphic gives us a sense of historically, how has the industry performed in Florida compared to the United States? And we did this as an index just to show kind of that relative movement between the two series, just to make it a little bit easier to follow. But I think the key here is that both nationally and across Florida, manufacturing employment declined sharply from 2001 through 2003, and then again right after, kind of during that recession, the Great Recession. And those declines reflected kind of, bigger movements, bigger shifts towards the service industry. It reflected just the general activities in the Great Recession, and then also increases in foreign competition. We have since the Great Recession seen a steady incline, an increase in employment in the industry, and it's actually exceeded that of what we've seen across the country. So we actually overshot the growth in the United States in the industry right before the pandemic hit. And then you see that we didn't quite see the same level of decline that the United States saw. So that kind of gives you a sense of how the industry compares Florida to the US. This gives a different picture. This looks at how some of our top three metro areas have performed over the years. So again, you see similar trends, but it's a little bit different. You can see Miami was much higher in terms of manufacturing employment earlier on, back in the 90s. It saw a much greater decline. And now we actually see Orlando, Kissimmee, Sanford as one of our top areas for manufacturing employment. So they've kind of pulled away from some of the other hot metro areas, whereas Tampa and Miami are right there in line with each other. So I wanted to highlight another local area, the Palm Bay MSA, which is really Brevard County. So this one's worth kind of noting because it's our fastest growing area in relation to manufacturing. So you can see it has a much different trend, particularly here in the recent years and really recent months. So whereas other areas have shown a similar pattern of decline in response to the pandemic, Brevard County did not see that same level of decline. In fact, it kept growing with a little bit of seasonality in there. But so this particular area has continued to see robust growth, and it's actually back towards where employment was back in the early 90s. So it's really a standout area in terms of manufacturing growth. So shifting gears, again, another source of information that we have related to the most recent event in the pandemic is unemployment insurance claims or reemployment assistance claims in the state, and just highlighting, of course, I mentioned that leisure and hospitality was one of the hardest hit industries in our state. So was self-employment. That's actually something we've never been able to see before from the data, and so having the federal programs from the unemployment insurance program kind of helps with that and helps us see exactly how they were impacted. But I have highlighted here manufacturing was impacted as well, although not to the same degree as some other industries. What we saw is that it kind of bounced back a little faster than some other areas. So I want to talk a little bit about that kind of where we're going in terms of the industry and how the subsectors are kind of changing over time. So this particular graphic shows the top 10 manufacturing industries going back to 2012. So you can see kind of the ranking here of industry, of subsector, where we have computer and electronic manufacturing was the top industry in manufacturing at that time, followed by transportation equipment manufacturing, and then fabricated metal product manufacturing. So this was kind of where we stood in 2012. We're seeing a little bit of shifting going on among these industries. And so when we fast forward to present day, we see that computer and electronic product manufacturing has actually shifted down into the second place position. So transportation equipment manufacturing is actually now the top industry for manufacturing. And so we're starting to see a little bit of a shift in which industries are growing faster. And we expect to see some major shifts over the next 8 years. And so this next slide highlights that. You can see that transportation is still the highest industry that we anticipate having over the next 8 years. But then as you kind of move down, you can see that plastics and rubber products manufacturing actually completely dropped out of that top 10 list. And you can see that computer and electronic product manufacturing actually declined a little bit. We have a few industries that we anticipate they're going to decline overall, and some other industries are going to continue to grow faster. And so this is where we expect to see things kind of shake out over the next several years. This next slide kind of puts a point on that. It really highlights which industries in particular we expect to see strong growth from. So fabricated metal product manufacturing and transportation equipment will continue to be high growth industries over the next 8 years, whereas we'll see some slowness in non-metallic mineral product manufacturing and printing and related support activities, and computer and electronic products will continue to see declines. So that's kind of how things are going to shift over the next several years. And of course, we might see some impacts from the pandemic that change that trajectory, and we'll continue to monitor that as well. So finally, I want to wrap up and just talk a little bit about kind of who makes up the folks in the manufacturing industry. So getting down to that individual level and what those demographics look like. So this gives employment by age for the most recent several quarters for manufacturing in particular. And you can see a little bit of a dip across all categories for the last quarter reported, which is quarter 3 of 2020. That's related to the pandemic and the most recent recession. We expect that to come back up. But the bigger trend here that's worth noting is that for all industries, when you kind of look at the total picture, the largest age group across all industries is the 35 to 44-year-old group. But that's very different in the manufacturing sector, where we actually see the largest age group is the 45 to 54 group. And you can tell over the last several quarters that there's a little bit of a shift into even that 55 to 64 group. And the fastest growing group is the 65 to 99 group. So that just gives a little bit of a picture of this industry is a little bit different from the other kind of the total industry in terms of the labor market mix. And it's something that needs to be factored in as we think about the future and where these industries are going. So with that, that concludes my remarks. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. And if you ever have some questions and want more details on manufacturing employment data, there's some contact information on the screen. But I'll be on kind of standby, ready for some questions, and I'll keep an eye in the chat for those. Okay, so I think I see the first question coming through. The question is, are there any areas in Florida that stand out as manufacturing hubs? So that's a great question. So I highlighted a little bit in the presentation where we see kind of our top MSAs for employment. And we saw our fastest growing area in terms of manufacturing employment is Brevard County. What I will point out is that the Jacksonville area was not on that list, but it also has a high concentration of medical equipment and supplies manufacturing. I didn't really specify the type of manufacturing that we see in those areas. So for Tampa and Miami in particular, we have a lot of food manufacturing. And then for Tampa and Jacksonville, we have a high concentration of beverage manufacturing, and a lot of that's related to the breweries that we have in that area. And so that's a growing industry in those two areas. I think I have time for one more question. Okay, so what economic forces do you see shaping the manufacturing industry in the short term and in the long term? So I think for the short term, clearly we're going to continue to see how the pandemic and our recovery from that is going to shape this industry. Like all industries, there's probably going to be some significant changes. We're seeing some tightness in the labor market already in terms of supply. So we certainly anticipate that continuing to have some impacts over the next several months throughout the year. There's also some continued supply chain and logistics issues that are being worked out as other countries are coming back on and recovering at different rates. So to the degree that that persists, that's going to impact things as well. Right now, we're seeing a high demand for a lot of goods. So there's a lot of pent-up demand from the pandemic, and there's more kind of money flowing through the economy, and so that's creating some additional demand for goods. So that's going to continue to persist over the next several months, and that's certainly going to impact the industry. I think for long-term factors that will impact the industry, it's the same things that we've been talking about for a few years. There's still a lot of work on automation and gains of productivity that I think will continue over the next several years, and that's going to have certainly going to be a driver on how the industry progresses. And then also the labor force and the skill sets needed, and the ability for people to get training for those higher, what are becoming higher skills needed for the industry. So I think that's all I have time for today, but I appreciate the opportunity, and thank you, Zoraida. I appreciate being here with you all today.
Thank you, Adrian. We appreciate your time and service to Florida citizens. If you submitted a question and it wasn't answered, please rest assured we'll send those to Adrian to collect and answer for you. As you can see from the data that Adrian shared, manufacturing is and has been thriving in Florida. It is impressive to see that while manufacturing in Florida declined during the pandemic, we did not decline at the same rate as the rest of the U.S. Now, while a decline is negative, it's reassuring that our industry in Florida managed to be more resilient than the rest of the country. Thank you again, Adrian, for that insightful presentation. It helps us better understand the role and potential impact that manufacturing can have on Florida's economy. I now have your first chance at winning a Landry's gift card. Enter in the group chat box the answer to this question. During her presentation, based on the number of jobs we've already been able to recover, Adrienne noted we're well on our way to economic recovery. What percentage of those jobs did she state that we have already recovered? The first person to answer correctly wins a gift card. You need to enter that into the chat box. Now, if you don't have the chat box open on your screen, you can click on the icon for the chat box at the bottom of your screen where the engagement tools are. And I'll wait on our production team to see if anybody has answered correctly. What percentage of those jobs that Adrienne talked about earlier have already actually been recovered?
Rachel F.
So the production team is telling me Rachel F answered correctly, 60%. Congratulations, Rachel. Please send us a message through the Q&A box so that we can get your gift card mailed to you. Or you can email us at events@floridamakes.com. All right, now back to the program. Our first session of the summit is being brought to you by our partners at GrowFL. And the moderator for that session is also, like Adrienne, a longtime economic developer and friend of manufacturing. Tammy Sweet serves as the director for GrowFL. She has led the program development for the organization since its inception, helping local communities build entrepreneurial efforts centered on the economic gardening philosophy and techniques. Her session will focus on key factors impacting manufacturers' business, supply chains, organizational management, and sustainability. Tammy is actually joining us live from New York, where she's on the road with her college-bound kid visiting schools. Tammy, we really appreciate you stepping away from your family this morning and taking the time to join us. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Zoraida, and thank you to the Florida Makes team for putting on such a great event for our Florida manufacturers. Our program here at GrowFL has been a longtime partner of Florida Makes, supporting the manufacturers here in Florida, actually working with the manufacturers on their growth strategies. Our growth programs focus on sales, marketing, operations. We are helping the CEO and your leadership team be able to develop new ways to improve top-line revenue, help your company be more efficient in your growth strategies, and identify opportunities where you can continue to be successful and continue to contribute to Florida's economy. We have a great session today. Thank you so much for joining us. On behalf of our GrowFL Board of Directors, our many partners throughout the state that work with us, we know that you will enjoy this program and take a lot out of it. We're going to be going into 3 different breakout rooms for this session. At the end of that, you'll come back to this main session here to be able to hear report outs from each of the breakout rooms. So don't worry if you can't get to all 3 of them, and if your team can't participate in each one of them, but we will be hearing from report outs. And as a partner of GrowFL, we definitely will be following up with you to see if there's any additional information that GrowFL can help with after the sessions. So you have the option, as you see on the screen, of entering the 3 breakout rooms. We have organizational management, business sustainability, and supply chain. These each will be led in a live Zoom session. You will join a roundtable style discussion with the following speakers. We will have a slide with their pictures come up as you review each of these breakouts. In the organizational management breakout room, we have 2 facilitators, Patty Gander, a Florida Makes business advisor, and Chris White with Coach Chris. And you're going to enjoy that. I just know it. 2 manufacturers that are going to be part of that discussion is Jason Petra with UpRev and Jason DeFranco with Team Solutions Dental. So you got the 2 Jasons and Patty Gander and Chris White with our first organizational management breakout room. In the business sustainability breakout session, we have Pete Brevitt with Ferris, Global, and Marty Spence with CLA, Clifton Larson Allen, as facilitators. And they are joined by two manufacturers as well. David Carrier, who I am proud to say is our incoming chair for GrowFL, which will take place July 1. So congratulations, David Carrier from Quantum Flow. And we've got Jack Harrell Jr. from Harrell's Inc. That program, again, is business sustainability, a breakout session, and you're going to be joined with Pete Previtt from Ferris Global and Marty Spence with CLA. And the two manufacturers, David Carey and Jack Harrell, will help to talk through how we continue to fund and sustain our companies through transitions, financial transitions, as well as maybe exit strategies. Finally, the supply chain breakout session will include conversations facilitated by Paula DeLuca and Michael Aller from Florida Makes, and they will be accompanied by Mark Nyes from Parametric Solutions as the manufacturer. So each of the rooms are going to have facilitators to facilitate this discussion and give us some best practices around the topics, as well as manufacturers who are going to give us some real life experience. You can read the bios for each of our speakers on the Florida Makes more.com website. And please, when you go into your Zoom program, do not close the window that you're in for this, for the Make More Summit. Once we get done, you're just going to come back to that Make More Summit video screen that you're watching right now in order to be able to hear the breakout sessions from each of the facilitators. So we'll be in the breakouts for about 20 minutes. They'll be able to talk about the topics, facilitate the discussion, and again, we'll come back here to the main event in order to hear back from the report outs from the facilitators. So I guess we're ready, Zoraida, to go ahead and let everybody go ahead and click on the link, enter the Zoom conversation, and then we'll see you back here in about 20 minutes.
into some of the Zoom breakouts, and I'm so glad to see so many of you engaged and participating. Tammy, I'll hand it over to you to bring in the facilitators so that they can report out on what their conversations covered and what insight they have for us to collect and to share with the rest of the audience who didn't get to join all three, or only one of those breakout rooms.
Absolutely. So thank you so much. Thanks everyone for participating. We're going to have you turn your cameras on, make sure your microphones are on, and we're going to do some report outs. I bet you had a lot of fun interacting with everyone in the breakout sessions and learning a little bit more about the companies that we're working with, the manufacturers throughout the state, as well as sharing some best practices with them. So from a report out standpoint, we're going to start with our organizational management breakout. And Patty, for each of you, we have about a minute, so give us a brief report out on what your group discussed. Patty, you go first.
Sure. We talked about the importance of organizational culture and maintaining organizational culture as you grow the business, and how it is, core to the success of an organization, but how it's so difficult to maintain as the organization grows. Has to be center in everything that you do. And also so that your marketplace understands that it's central to everything that you do. So everything that is culture. It's making sure that every decision you make in an organization, you take culture in mind with the decisions that you're making. So that was kind of the Reader's Digest version of everything outside.
That's awesome. And I know we're currently having applications open for our annual Grow FL Florida Companies to Watch Awards program. I know that a lot of the companies in that organizational management is a key reason why they're being selected as a Companies to Watch honoree, because they're the ones that are really investing in their employees and structuring their organization so that they have a pathway for individuals to continue to grow, as well as the business growth opportunities. So thanks, Patty, appreciate that. Next up is Pete and Marnie. If you guys can report out, I'll start with Pete on our business sustainability.
Yes, we spoke with David Carrier of Quantum Flow about growth capital. And I think the big takeaway is, as your company is growing top line and as you're profitable, you really set yourself up and become open to being approached by potential equity partners, right? So there's lots of ways to grow. One of them is by bringing on some working capital or capital from an equity partner, a private equity firm, family office, a strategic buyer. So what Dave talked about was always being prepared, right? So having your financials in order, everything with the company, ready to continue to grow, and then having conversations was really a key. Don't be afraid to talk to some of these potential partners. Right now, Florida is a terrific market. Manufacturing is a hot industry, and there's a lot of growth capital out there, a lot of dry powder, as Dave said, that's interested in getting invested in companies. So if you have a growing company and you're profitable, you have a lot of options to start talking to these partners, and it could really help you accelerate the growth of the business. So those are the main takeaways that we have.
Wonderful. Great, thanks, Pete. And Marnie.
Yeah, so our breakout session was the legacy of a family business. Jack Harrell with Harrell's, which is a very successful firm out of Lakeland. In August, they're celebrating their 80th year. They're in their 4th generation. They're now as of 2016, was an ESOP. Jack spoke about the transition from different family generations, how some were very much a surprise and some were very planned behind the scenes. But what he really spoke about, which really, Tammy and Patty, you guys touched on, is the fact that he said this, and I wrote this down. He goes, on your financial statements, your employees show up as an expense. He goes, but in reality, they are your number one asset. And so just emphasizing that emphasis on asset, and that how in any type of transition where you might think as an owner, it's a wonderful thing, and a wonderful thing for your employees is that they might not catch on to that immediately and might not think that, and that of what that change looks like, and also just within communication. He did talk about where the sustainability of his family, but also not only the Harrell family, but the other plus 450 families that he also has within the Harrell enterprise, and was very proud of that.
Great. Those are great words of wisdom. I love that quote.
Wow.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Marnie and Pete. And our last session is on supply chain, and we have Paula and Mike are in the group. So which one would you like to provide the report at? Paula, I see you unmuted, so.
Sure, I can. So our manufacturing company wasn't in the room, so we kind of winged it. Mike went through the Connex database and just showed a lot of the things in there so that people could see how to utilize it, some of the information that they could see. At the end, and of course, I interjected some questions, and we talked about the successful experience that Parametric Solutions had by using the database to find that contract through Northrop Grumman. At the end, we had some conversation, and one of the guys, he was at the Economic Development Council, and he suggested that how do we get the word out about this database? He says, we've been talking about doing this since the 1980s, so how do we get the word out there? And he suggested that perhaps through local organizations that we can put this on their website or something to talk about. The Connex database is available for manufacturing companies to find each other, to find suppliers, to find customers. So that was a good suggestion at the end. And Mike, if you have any more to add to that, feel free.
Yep, we've got about 30 seconds, and Zoraida is going to cut us off.
No, I think it's a great job, and yeah, just how do we get the word out across a broader community, that this is out there and this is available and it's a resource for the state and for our ecosystem.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all so much for taking the time out and leading these sessions. I know they were valuable information for all of our manufacturers, and encourage you all to check out GrowFL at www.growfl.com. And as I said, we have applications open now for Florida companies to watch. So again, to all the manufacturers, congratulations on your success. To our facilitators, we appreciate your time today. And back to you in the studio, Zoraida.
Thank you, Tammy, and thank you all for joining those breakout rooms. Special thanks to the facilitators who took the time to guide those conversations. Now, remember that if there was not enough time,
we are off. Thank you, everybody, for all your.
Or you still have lingering thoughts or questions, please submit those either through the chat or the Q&A box. Also, if there are any important topics or data that do not get brought up during our time together, and you think it would be relevant to include in our report, please submit those so we can make sure to capture that information. And please stay tuned after the summit to receive a copy of the final report in October when we release it during Manufacturing Month. It's now time for our keynote. The next portion of our program was actually pre-recorded. We thought it'd be more fun and interesting for you to be able to see the manufacturing facility. I guess that's one of the advantages of this virtual world we're in right now. At an in-person event, like we've hosted these in the past, it would have been much harder to bring the factory to you. So please watch as Kevin Carr, Florida Makes CEO, interviews Rogan Donnelly, third-generation CEO at Tervis. Tervis is a stage 3, 75-year-old family-owned manufacturer. This interview at their facility in Venice, Florida, dives into why they selected Florida to bring their business, to the effects of COVID-19, manufacturing 4.0, and their environmentally sustainable practices. Plus, you'll get to see Kevin making a MakeMore Turbis cup just like the one I have here. Rogan will join us live at the end of this recording to answer your questions about Turbis and his thoughts on modern manufacturing. So make sure you submit those through the Q&A box while you're watching the interview.
Hi, I'm Kevin Carr, and I'm the CEO of Florida Makes, and welcome to the MakeMore Manufacturing Summit, where I'm coming to you today from the factory floor of Turbis in Venice, Florida, where we'll have an opportunity to speak with CEO Rogan Donnelly about the successes of operating one of the best manufacturing companies in the state. So I'm glad you could join us. Rogan?
Hey, Kevin. Welcome. Welcome to Turbis.
Thank you for hosting us, and welcome to the MakeMore Manufacturing Summit. I guess before we get started, tell us a little bit about the history of the company.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So Turbis got its start 75 years ago in 1946 by two of the engineers, Cotter and Davis. And they were responsible for having the ultrasonically welded pieces of tumbler and created an insulation that keeps our drinks cold and hot drinks hot. So fast forward all the way to the 1960s, and that's when my grandfather, he identified the company, and he was living here in the Sarasota area, and he felt that a insulated product that's no sweat, keeps your cold drinks cold, virtually indestructible, would be much better suited for the Florida lifestyle. So he brought it down here to the Sarasota area. We've been doing business here ever since. So our classic product is all proudly made in America. We have around 450 employees. We do all of our assembly, our design, plastic and stainless steel right here in this facility in North Venice. And since then, we've been doing a lot of innovation with our product and our design technique. So we'll do everything from licensing to woven designs to print-on plastic to print-on Triton. So we've been able to expand our product product line quite a bit over the last 75 years. But essentially, the business has remained relatively the same as far as our value propositions and our what we offer the consumer. We've had a lot of success over the years.
You say it's remained relatively the same, but it sounds like you have a culture of continuous innovation.
Right, exactly. So we're always looking to make things better any way we can.
Have a seat.
Thank you. I see you got your cups here, all ready to go. These look great.
I don't know if you know anything about our MakeMore Manufacturing Summit. Let me tell you a little bit about that. And for all intents and purposes, we're trying to bring together the manufacturing ecosystem for the state of Florida and see if we can't begin to organize, strategize about a better future for manufacturing. A lot of people don't know there's 20,700 manufacturers in the state. People think of the state, they think of Disney, they think of the beaches. They don't think of manufacturing. But we have quite a manufacturing footprint, and what we're trying to do is become a dominant manufacturing footprint. So that's a little bit about what the summit's about. We bring together stakeholders, manufacturers, to talk about a path forward. So tell us, if you will, Rogan, you know, as we were talking a little bit there, tell us a little bit about why really your products are so popular and have been so successful.
Thank you. Yeah. So we have we're very fortunate that we've had a long-standing brand, both in Florida and nationally. So we've been around for 75 years. We've continued to listen to the consumer and react over those 75 years to the consumer's changes. So for instance, if it's a new design, a new product, a new technology, whatever it ends up being, we're very acute to those consumer demands. And we want to make sure that we pivot and that we stay innovative in what we offer.
So talk a little bit about how you've expanded the product offering. We were talking a little bit in the past, and a comment I made was, you know, for a product that's kind of stayed relatively same in terms of the value proposition, you've been tremendously innovative over the years, going through a lot of different product life cycles in terms of design and offering.
Yeah, throughout our 75-year history, we've adapted and made a few tweaks, but you know, we're very proud to say that essentially the same cup that we've had since our existence is essentially the same as what we have now. Now, of course, that said, we have updated and changed some of our decoration techniques. We have a lot of customization. So on our website, you can completely customize your cup from top to bottom, 360. If it's for a gift for your for family, or if it's a corporate design. So again, it's really listening to the consumer, listening to the marketplace, and after we've been around for so long, we really have established different channels. So we have our wholesale channel, we have our D2C channels, which would be our own stores, Service.com. So we have about 13 of our corporate-owned stores, and we've been able to use those channels to really understand the market and the consumer in order to stay relative.
And I'm not sure about this, but I get the sense I remember when people first started talking about mass customization back in the 80s and 90s, but you're custom down to a unit of one, correct?
We do, yeah. So our smallest unit would be one that you can fully customize, or we do up to the thousands or the tens of thousands. So yeah, we're happy to make the consumer happy any way we can. But and that's why people see them in so many different places. So you could have them at a college bookstore. You could have them in a corporate setting through corporate sales. You could see them in our own stores, online, or at wholesalers. So yeah, we have a great distribution channel that we're very proud to have built over the years.
So look, I want to talk a little bit, here we are, we're sitting, I want to say post-COVID, but I don't know if we can say that yet. I'm not quite sure. And you and I discussed earlier some of the issues related to coming back online, supply issues, human capital issues that we're seeing all over the country. So talk a little bit about that post-COVID environment. Are you having issues with respect to access to capital, expanding in the global markets? I know we were having problems getting supply into the country. Are you seeing the same kind of challenges out there? And other post-COVID issues as you kind of grapple with, the post-2020 world.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. Yeah. So during the pandemic, our supply chain was pretty solid. We have we're a large manufacturer, and therefore we have a large supply chain, which is the majority of it is actually in the state of Florida, which is fantastic. And our suppliers did a great job of keeping us in the know and keeping us supplied. So we didn't have too many supply chain issues. But during the pandemic itself, especially in the early stages, the largest thing that we had to change is our communication. So of course, we had a lot of people working from home, and there's just a big fear of the unknown. What's going to happen in the future? Is the government going to be able to help out? Are we going to be able to stay in business? Are we going to have sales? And for myself and for the company, through just increased communication, if it's through Teams, through Skype, over the phone, whatever it was, as we were being socially distant, that was really the biggest change that helped us get through there. And luckily, I have a fantastic team here who worked very well with both our internal teams and our outside partners. We were able to make it through the pandemic very well and responsibly. We had to furlough a bunch of our employees. However, they were able to quickly come back and make a difference. And we had some great channels. Amazon, of course, was still selling very strongly. And then groceries, which we have a great business in, they were also selling as well. So we were able to get a lot of product out thanks to a lot of our people here working hard under this roof. But as we were talking about earlier, I mean, this fast forward to now, we certainly have a lot of issues with our supply chain that other companies are facing as well. A lot of that's been our freight. The amount that it costs to ship our product has increased quite a bit. Suppliers have had some increases, our shipping, and a lot of that cost, unfortunately, that has been passed on to us. Now, for us, it's a little bit difficult, because our end consumer is someone who's shopping around for competitors' products, and that's been a challenge. That's what we're working on currently to figure out. All right, how do we absorb the cost of this increase that we're facing through outside factors that we can't control, in order for us to have a profitable and successful business.
In terms of your incoming supply, basically.
Yeah, everything from our raw materials we've seen some increases there. And we've also, as I mentioned, the freight that pretty much the entire country is facing right now.
But did you suffer any incoming issues? Are you still dealing with some incoming supply shortages?
We do. We currently have some incoming supply issues, and for various factors, and that aren't unique just to Tervis. That's going throughout the country now. But we have, many supply chains that we try to source from. And when we do come to an issue, luckily we have a good internal team who's going to, one, we have a good reserve, good inventory. And we have a good relationship with all of our supply chain partners. So we've been able to work through this. As we talked about kind of the pandemic, COVID, a lot of this is really a hangover from what's happened over the last year or so. So we're battling through it, and we're working together with our partners in order to have a good outcome. But as we've had over this last couple of years, it's been very challenging for manufacturers as well as other businesses. It's really just kind of that unknown, and how do you plan for the unknown? But we've been able to tackle a lot of those issues that have come up recently in a productive way.
So we were talking a little bit earlier also, I don't want to stay on COVID too long, but one of the unintended consequences over the past year was what we're now feeling as a shortage of human capital. People coming back to work, I don't know how hard that's to do and what you've done to sort of mitigate some of that.
Yeah, we have, we've always had just fantastic people working for us. A lot of these folks who are working here, they've been working here for 10, 15, 30 years. So we're very fortunate and very proud of our entire team here. But yes, you're right. There's absolutely, we're feeling the effects of that national labor shortage. And it's not just us, it's our neighbors down the road, PGT, it's Chris Craft, it's across the globe, across the state at least. We're really feeling that labor shortage. And we've done everything. We've tried to do sign-on bonuses. We've tried to do job fairs, both virtually and in person. And we've recruited every way that we can. And right now, we're going through it. We're just extremely fortunate to have the people that we do. They're just working extra hours, extra days. And I'm proud to say that our sales forecast has exceeded our plan. We're still able to ship them out the door month to month, which is just a huge attribute. But the way that we were able to combat that is we just had to stay nimble. This was something that we hadn't seen in a long time. We had to get creative with ways to attract and retain our people. And again, it comes down to communication. I think in the last month, we've had town halls, 2 or 3 town halls out here just explaining the situation, letting folks know that it's not specific to Tervis. And most importantly, just how appreciative we are of the good work, because the work that they do is effective. We just have to keep them motivated, keep them effective.
So one more quasi-COVID kind of question. I was listening to an interview of someone from the fashion industry, and they said this whole COVID forced like a 10-year acceleration of digitization, and in some ways in a positive way. Do you see things now that net on the other side are a benefit? Hey, we're going to keep that. We're not going to change that.
Yeah, I would certainly the work from home aspect, the work from anywhere. It's been kind of, especially manufacturing. I'm not sure if you've seen this in other companies you've been with, but it's a little bit taboo where you got to be there from whatever it is, 8 a.m. till 5 p.m. to 6 a.m. till 6. You got to be in the office. If you're not in the office, you're not working hard. I believe that the whole pandemic and COVID, where we were forced to work from home, I think that's debunked that kind of that old school thought of, well, if you're not here from start to finish, then you're not working hard. So the work from home and more importantly, work from anywhere has really been a benefit from us. We've seen people still being efficient. They may not be as regimented, or they may not be in the clock from start to finish, but they're having a good balance of exactly, having a good work-life balance, which is improved. And we're seeing efficiency as well.
So we were talking a little bit about some of the challenges of family-owned business. You're a third generation. You made a comment there, it's a curse of the third generation. But do you see that as an issue that you have to contend with?
Sure. Yeah. So the curse of third generation is what they say. The first generation makes the money. The second generation makes the money bigger, and the third generation blows all the money. That's kind of the family business joke around the table. But so luckily that's not true yet, at least. But having a company that's just solely family owned and it's been around for 75 years. I was very fortunate. When I was growing up, my family had always kind of talked about the company. It was a huge part of my life. It was almost like another sibling or an aunt or an uncle. And unintentionally, my parents did a good job of just including me in just the right amount as far as the business, what the product was. And we're fortunate it's the consumer goods, so you can see the product, you can touch the product, so you learn a little bit more about the business. But of course, family businesses aren't without their issues. But I'm very lucky that we have a supportive family. We have a discretionary board that has outsiders on it as well, so that's been very helpful. So it's not just the board meetings aren't just family meetings. We also get a lot of outside. Exactly, right, to keep us honest. So some outside opinions certainly help.
If you don't mind, Rogan, talk a little bit about the impact technology has had on your business, particularly when you look at a 75-year-old business, and particularly over the last 10, 20 years, that has been sort of a rapid sort of influence, on how you produce and maintain your competitiveness.
Yeah, it certainly has. So, we've used technologies in various different ways. For instance, on the operation floors, there's been a lot of efficiencies that we've been able to do. If it's automation, or if it's the way that we assemble or the way that we ship. So we've used a lot of those efficiencies where we can. And on the innovation side, on the product side, there's been a lot of technology that's come through in our decoration. We started with woven emblems, which we still have. Then we went to printing what we call wraps, which is a polyester material that we'll put inside the cup. To our latest technologies, where we can use UV ink that prints directly on to the cup, and it's all plant-based, so we can avoid any kind of waste from that as well. So there's constantly technology, of course, that's out there and evolving. And with a company that has this many legs like Tervis, we're able to use that in all areas. But if we didn't update our technologies, if we didn't stay relevant in those areas, then we'd be doing a big disservice not only to our company but also to the consumer as well.
I would imagine too that the strength of the Tervis brand is a big differentiator too. When people talk about a cup, people don't generally talk about the manufacturer of the cup. It's a Tervis cup.
Absolutely, yeah. So we're very proud of having that iconic image. When if you're given a Tervis or if you say Tervis, normally and hopefully your mind goes to that double-walled plastic insulated cup with the rings and either an emblem or some type of design on the inside. But yeah, that's been a huge asset for us. It's something we're very proud of and want to help build on.
I noticed when I was coming in the facility, there was a bench, and it was made with 100% recycled Tervis cup. So you're looking at that whole sort of life cycle sustainability of the product. You talk about that a little bit on your webpage about your commitment to that sustainability and not wanting to see a Tervis cup in the ocean somewhere.
Right, absolutely. So we are extremely fortunate where for the last 75 years we've had our lifetime guarantee. So I like to tell people that we've been sustainable before sustainable was cool or trendy. So when we make a cup, we make it to last a lifetime. And on the instance where you do need to return it, you certainly can, but it's not going to go into a landfill. So we're going to break it down, regrind it, and make it into other usable products. So for instance, we used to, for a long time, we used to make shipping crates out of our regrind products. And now we're trying to get a little more visibility to what we've been doing for years, and we're making park benches. So we just partnered with Sarasota County, and we're putting park benches along the Legacy Trail, which is here in the Venice, Sarasota area. But all of that is from reground Tervis. So it's a huge piece of our mission that we don't want to see any of our scrap, if it's anything, if it's packaging, if it's our tumblers, we don't want them in the ocean, we don't want them in the environment. We want to make sure that we have a closed loop and stay sustainable as possible. Yeah, and it fits
very well.
Yeah, exactly. It goes over really well everywhere. Internally, the team likes it. They like to rally around it. We're doing our part and have been for many years. And we've actually even upped our commitment, and we committed to be a zero waste facility in 2022. And we're already about 86% of the way there. So we've just got a small little bit to close the gap. And we feel confident that we'll be able to do that.
Just to wrap things up a little bit, is there anything else you think you could offer to any of those 20,700 Florida manufacturers that you think could benefit them based on your experiences here, your experiences over the past 75 years, the experiences over this past year? Anything you would like to add?
You know, we're fortunate to be in a great state like Florida that's very pro-business, and you know, I'm happy to hear that organizations like yourselves are doing things to kind of bring the information together. You know, I think that's crucial. That so many people and so many manufacturers in the state are doing so many good things that, you know, organizations like yourself, we have this to come together and share ideas, and to think about, all right, how can we accumulate and how can we be more productive and be even more efficient, which is fantastic. But what we've done over the last few years with all the craziness of COVID and now, you know, the supply chain shortage and the increased cost of fuel, we've really had to stay nimble. You know, we've always had to adapt to hurdles that we can't see, that we can't predict. And the way that we've combated that is communicating and sharing information, and then being able to be very agile and very nimble to say, okay, we've been doing something this way for 75 years. And guess what? That's not the best way to do it anymore. So instead of being hung up on the way we used to do things, we're looking for ways that we can do things that's going to be the most efficient and most practical for not just for our company and our people, but also for the consumer as well.
So I have to confess in closing that I'm probably one of your biggest customers.
Okay.
You know, back in when I was young, at our home, my father had a chair. It was that, you know, like the Archie Bunker chair. Nobody sits in the chair. Nobody sits in the chair. There's a Tervis cup in our house that nobody's allowed to touch. Okay. Everybody grabs it and I left it. No. Right. You know, I use it religiously every day. Yeah. I mean, to the point where we have to steal it to clean it.
Good. Well, we love to hear that.
I'm a big fan of Tervis. Like I said to you, you know, I'm always amazed when I put it in the car with ice cubes open and come back a couple hours later and the ice cubes are still there. It's some kind of secret.
Right. No, that's awesome. Fantastic.
Really works.
Yeah, there's always, you know, being in Florida, we've heard great
I learned
stories
that
of
very quick. I came down here 6 years ago and it just iced it and it's gone.
Yep.
So
no, you need something.
You have something magical going in that cup. Somebody figured out, I guess, back in 1946. So I'm a happy user.
Good to hear.
So, I want to thank you, Rogan, for spending the time, letting us come into your facility, take a look at the process of one of the premier Florida manufacturers, and to really be an example for other manufacturers out there of how you can not only survive, but thrive through that time, but thrive through 75 years. I think you're a great success story, and I thank you for having us and participating in the summit.
Absolutely.
From your factory floor.
Happy to help, yeah, and we're happy to have you here, and come by anytime you want.
All right, thanks a lot.
All right, wasn't that awesome? I've got Rogan live with us here, ready to answer your questions. Rogan, thank you so much for allowing us to take a peek at your operations a few weeks ago and for making time today to join our audience. We've gotten lots of questions from the audience, so I'm gonna get right to it. We had a manufacturer ask, due to the COVID-induced labor shortage, we have had to hire individuals that are not as qualified as we would like, or that we normally may not have hired before COVID. We expected a temporary reduction in productivity, but what we did not anticipate was the high turnover rate. Did you find that situation too? How are you dealing with that?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you all for having me here. Always happy to help and looking forward to learn a little bit myself as well. Yeah, the labor shortage, that is something that we absolutely are experiencing. The way that we approach our business is that we're very seasonal. So we're actually used to hiring a lot of people in the back half of the year. However, due to the national labor shortage, we're experiencing labor issues much earlier on than we're normally used to. And what we do traditionally, and what we have done now, is that we go through temp agencies. And they're certainly more expensive, and the labor isn't quite as experienced as what we would like. For Tervis, it takes about 6 weeks to get fully trained, which is a little bit higher than the industry standard. but we're certainly feeling the pain. So we'll bring on the temps. They will train for about 6 weeks, and then, as I'm sure a lot of people on this call realize, the temp workers are you never know what you're gonna get. You never know how long they're gonna stay for. Sometimes they could not show up. Sometimes they could be fantastic workers, and we'll bring them on full time when we're able to. But our strategy has always been to bring on temps, pay a little bit more for them, and then get them into the system, the service system. And if they work out, then we'll give them a full-time job. Now, on the other side, amongst recruiting, we've done tons of initiatives. I'm sure everyone's seen, from things like Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts to all the restaurants out there. There's a lot of incentives that employers are putting in place, and we're doing the same. So we're doing a referral bonus to our existing employees, so they can give us someone that they're going to refer to work here. We'll also do a hiring bonus in order to bring on those people, and I think that pays out 3 weeks in, so we want to retain them a little bit as well. But on the other side, we're also doing a retention bonus. So we have folks who've worked here for 5 years, 10 years, 30 years, and we don't want just the new employees, the new hires, to see some of that benefits. So we're also doing a retention bonus for folks who've been here with us for a long time, in order to keep them happy and motivated. Because at the end of the day, the folks who've been with you the longest are the most efficient, the most critical, the most crucial, not only for our product and our quality and our assembly, but also for the culture and things like that. So we're very fortunate for our existing employees and want to encourage them as much as possible. But temps is how we've been approaching this national labor shortage.
Great, thank you for answering that. Now, another manufacturer asked, concerning the supply chain and difficulty getting materials, we unfortunately have more single source suppliers for critical components. Are you having the same problem, and what steps are you taking to mitigate that risk?
We are, I think, my opinion, after COVID and the pandemic, a lot of the supply chain has certainly been disrupted. If it's supply, demand, or price, whatever it may be. But yes, we are certainly feeling the effects of a high demand and lack of supply in some of our supply chains. We have a lot of suppliers that we work with. The majority are here in the state of Florida. Some of them are overseas. So the approach that we take is that we try as much as we can not to have a single source supplier. We do that as part of our strategy to make sure that we have alternatives for instance, for lack of supply, or if it's pricing issues, it's a way to keep our suppliers honest with ourselves and with each other as well. So we've had a fantastic relationship with a lot of our suppliers over the last 75 years. They're not all perfect, and we do run into our issues. Right now, demand has been one that we're experiencing. So when we do have a single source supplier, the first thing we do is make sure we have a good relationship with them. We want to make sure that they know who we are, that they know how important that they are to our business. We want to make sure that they're communicating as much as possible. And I'll call you up with my COO, and we'll make sure that we get the top executives. We have a lot of good relationships with a lot of the salespeople and sales rep from our suppliers, but we won't be shy about it. We'll go in there and we'll demand the highest level C-suites that we can get, because at the end of the day, it's a partnership, and they need to know that we're relying on them and they're relying on us. So we won't have any issues going up there and demanding the best quality and best care that we can get. But the areas that we are single sourced, we are constantly looking for alternative suppliers. And depending on what it is, if it's a plastic, if it's a metal, if it's a design or a decoration, sometimes that's easier, depending on what the material is, what the supplier is. But regardless, we're continuing to work with alternative suppliers. And the benefit is, if you can get in early, if you can identify a new supplier and get in early and help them either with, if it's financial, or if it's knowledge, or if it's resources, whatever it may be, you can also try to work out some exclusivity in order to keep other competitors at bay, or to improve or to excel innovation within that material. So the earlier the better that we found that we can get in with a potential new supplier has really helped us out. But I tried to stay as much as possible away from those single sources because you just never know what's going to happen. So there's a lot of unintended consequences, which is what we're seeing a little bit today.
That's true, and it's definitely been exacerbated with the pandemic, and it gets impacted with hurricanes and any disaster. So we appreciate your advice on that. And shameless plug for any of you who are looking for suppliers and you'd like to support Florida suppliers, please check out Connex Florida. It's Florida Supply Chain Database where you can source local and support the Florida economy. Well, Rogan, I think we're out of time. We've got lots of questions, so maybe we'll send those your way, and if we could get those answers for our audience later on, we'd greatly appreciate it. We really thank you for your time, for being part of our event today, for being part of this important conversation. We're proud of you, of the fact that Turbix Florida calls home. And we hope we can continue to keep you engaged with our industry, with the ecosystem. You've got the Sarasota Manatee Manufacturers Association over there. And I know you guys are members, and we sincerely appreciate your support.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to help, and thank you for all that you guys do, and look forward to connecting soon.
Thank you. And now, a very special part of our year at Florida Makes, the announcement of the Sterling Manufacturing Business Excellence Award winners. Identifying these manufacturers, assessing, judging takes so much effort. We're lucky to have two dedicated SMBE process co-leads that makes this process sought after by Florida manufacturers everywhere. Phil Zantonsi serves as Florida Makes a Director of Performance Assessment. And Patty Gander is an at-large business advisor at Florida Makes. She was one of the ones who facilitated the organizational management breakout sessions earlier. They will be followed by Ray Aguirre. As the Florida Makes chairman of the board, Ray will announce the winners in the bronze category today. Ray's paying job is VP and General Manager for Custom Metal Designs, which is a material handling equipment and conveyor systems manufacturing company. He proudly serves on the board of the Manufacturers Association of Central Florida as president and represents Florida on the NIST MEP National Board. Needless to say, Ray volunteers lots of time to advance Florida's manufacturing. Now, here to introduce the SMBE award process, Phil Zantonsi and Patty Gander. Phil, Patty, take it away.
On behalf of Florida Makes and the Florida Sterling Council partners, I thank you for joining with us to recognize our Sterling Manufacturing Business Excellence, the SMBE Awards winners, and to acknowledge the importance of manufacturing in Florida. 18 winners to be named today and tomorrow have earned the right to be recognized for their excellence in the manufacturing sector. The companies come from a field of over 140 nominations made by people and organizations around the state who have an interest in the well-being and growth of Florida manufacturing. Thanks to all the nominators. In the fall, keep an eye peeled for the SMBE 2022 announcements to nominate manufacturers for next year's award. Patty?
Thanks, Phil. This year, we had over 60 examiners representing a diverse group of industries and backgrounds. They each contributed a significant number of hours of their time in preparing for and conducting evaluations. We recognize a few examiners who stood out for their service to the process. First, Dave Dragon. Dave is a Florida Makes business advisor. Dave's manufacturing background includes aerospace, defense, automotive, aviation, chemicals, CPG, energy, and industrials. Dave has held leadership positions in several global manufacturing technology and consulting companies. Dave participated in a total of 25 evaluations. Second, Stephanie Kempton. Stephanie is a volunteer and a Florida Makes third-party provider. Stephanie has more than 30 years of marketing and communications experience. In her career, she has held positions as a group product manager, research analyst, corporate strategist, media planner, account supervisor, director of advertising, account planner, and director of research and planning. Her research and planning expertise has directly contributed to enhanced business performance for a wide range of businesses and brands. Stephanie participated in a total of 20 evaluations. Third, Susanna Bobst. Susanna is a volunteer and is employed by Pasco County. Susanna works as a performance development analyst and is responsible for implementing continuous improvement projects in the county. Susanna holds a PhD in business management with specialization in process improvement and is an advanced Sterling examiner and a Baldrige examiner. Susanna participated in 18 evaluations. These are just a sampling of the high caliber examiners and judges we depend on. Thank you, examiners and judges. Bill?
Our evaluation process is very comprehensive with high standards based on the Baldrige and Sterling criteria for performance excellence. The evaluation criteria examine how a manufacturer prepares for, adapts, and operates in its environment and markets to provide value for customers now and in the future. This year's company evaluations results assessed performance against the criteria. Nominees competed against the evaluation criteria, not against each other. As you'll see, we visited many high-performing Florida manufacturers this year. Despite the impact of COVID-19, the competition was robust. Our finalists were all sizes and industries, from the 7-person Slice Engineering in Gainesville, making sought-after parts for high-end 3D printers, to the Navy's Fleet Readiness Center Southeast, with a workforce of over 5,000, overhauling and repairing military aircraft like the F-18. Patty?
Thanks, Bill. Thanks to all the manufacturers who participated in the evaluation process. Each of you will receive feedback to guide you in prioritizing improvements and helping you rise to even higher levels of performance. Congratulations to the 20 finalists and all earning the winner status. We'll meet them today and tomorrow. I urge all 140 nominees to take feedback, make improvements, and come back again to the award evaluation process. It's a great way to develop and grow your company. To our audience, please visit the finalist booth in the expo hall to learn more about them and their diverse products made in Florida. In a moment, the winners. Today you'll hear about our 5 bronze level winners, and tomorrow we'll name the silver and gold level winners. Each manufacturer was assessed by a team, judged, and selected as winner solely on performance based on the criteria for performance excellence. This approach acknowledges that excellence is not based on the size of the company, but rather on organizational performance defined by the criteria.
I have the pleasure this morning of announcing the winners of the Sterling Manufacturing Business Excellence Award, or for short, the SMBE Award. Florida Makes and the Florida Sterling Council have established this prestigious award based on the Sterling criteria for business performance excellence. It's great to have an opportunity to recognize Florida's manufacturing industry, which is an important and growing part of the state's economy. The SMBE award process is an outstanding model for manufacturers, large or small, striving for enduring success. The objectives of the award process are to recognize the high-performing Florida manufacturing companies, provide manufacturers with feedback and opportunities for improvement, and develop and offer opportunities to promote high performance and evaluate the manufacturing sector in Florida. Manufacturers, the manufacturing community, the Sterling trained individuals participated in evaluating over 140 of the nominated companies. Heartfelt thanks go to all the examiners and judges who contributed valuable time and expertise to this process. Contributions from the examiners and the judges were immense. The winners, soon to be announced, represent industries across Florida. All companies competed against the same criteria. Bronze, silver, and gold were determined by the present number, their total score against this criteria. Today, I'll announce the bronze winners. Tomorrow, the silver and gold winners. The order of the bronze winners is random and in no particular order. In the bronze category, congratulations go to Made in Space, Inc.
Made in Space, also known as Redwire, is headquartered in Jacksonville. Redwire is a new leader in mission-critical space solutions and high-reliability components for the next-generation space economy. With decades of flight heritage combined with the agile and innovative culture of a commercial space platform, Redwire is uniquely positioned to solve the complex challenges of future space missions for its customers. Congratulations to Made in Space.
Also want to recognize V3 Electronics.
Headquartered in Bradenton, V3 Electronics is a major supplier of custom products to OEMs, engine manufacturers, and the aftermarket around the world. The company roots lie in the analog gauge market, where it offers a gauge to meet any need. V3 is also on the cutting edge of display technology and digital switching, constantly working to bring innovation to the marketplace. Congratulations to V3 Electronics.
The next winner, Kira Labs.
Kira Labs is a retail consumer packaged goods manufacturer and marketer specializing in beauty, personal care, home, and pet products. Based in South Florida, Kira Labs operates as a lean manufacturer promoting wholly owned brands and trademarks, producing all this in harmony with the environment and community. Established in 2003, Kira Labs has grown to over 30 brands and hundreds of products, becoming an award-winning manufacturer. Congratulations to Kira Labs.
Again, want to recognize Stellar Energy Americas, Inc.
Stellar Energy in Jacksonville has helped companies and public utilities worldwide for 20 years reduce energy costs, optimize energy performance, and prepare for the energy needs. With more than 150 projects across 14 countries, the company's relentless commitment to adding value for clients has built Stellar Energy into a global leader in energy plant solutions and a provider of turbine inlet air chilling, central utility plants, district cooling, and combined heat and power solutions. Congratulations to Bronze Award winner Stellar Energy Americas.
And finally, Caviform International.
Founded on the west coast of Florida in 1978, Caviform International's engineers and craftsmen deliver quality injection molds and components to customers in over 30 countries. Most recently, Caviform supported the global fight against COVID-19 by manufacturing injection molds for PCR test kits in unprecedented time. Caviform partners with its sister company, Modern Technical Molding and Development, to ensure that injection molds are ready to produce consistent, quality, molded products. Congratulations to Bronze Award winner, Caviform International.
Congratulations to these bronze winners. Tune in tomorrow, same time, same place, for the silver and gold winners.
Thanks so much, Patty, Phil, and Ray, and congratulations again to the bronze winners. If you'd like to learn more about these winners and the rest of the SMB finalists, please visit the Made in Florida Showcase Expo. Before I introduce our speaker for closing remarks, who's loitering beside me, here's your last chance at winning one of those Landry's gift cards. Whoever can guess how many gold SMBE winners will be announced tomorrow wins. Enter your guess in the chat. We had 20 finalists, minus 5 bronze winners that we just announced. How many of the 15 remaining companies will be gold winners? We'll give you a few seconds to enter your guess. So any number between 1 and 15 could be a gold winner. Do we have a winning answer? Marnie. The answer is 5, and Marnie Spence looks like she guessed it correctly. So congratulations, Marnie. Please send us a message through the Q&A box so that you can get your gift card mailed to you. Or you can email us at eventsfloridamakes.com. And now, to close off our program, we have the person who leads our organization and who has dedicated his entire career to the advancement of manufacturing. Florida Makes CEO Kevin Carr.
Thank you, Zoraida, and thanks to your team for all the work you did pulling this together. I want to thank also the facilitators and all the participants. It doesn't work if it's not a two-way communication, so I think that's particularly important. One of the things I know you mentioned this morning is that Florida last October was ranked 30th in productivity. And I think our challenge in advancing that number higher really falls along three dimensions in my mind. One is technology, greater use of technology. And you heard people talk about Industry 4.0. You heard mentions of it in the conversation with Rogan at Tervis. But that's really essential. You're seeing technology advancing at speeds we've never seen before. Another one, which is key, if not the key, and central to all of our issues, and you heard Tervis talk about it, you heard it in the breakout sessions, is workforce skills and advancing skills, not only of the people in our pipeline, the people that are in the schools, in our high schools. But, we've got 40-something years of workers out there that are having to adapt and upskill to keep us kind of moving forward. And finally, the third leg of that, advancing triangle deals with business growth, which is the topic of today's sessions and tomorrow's sessions. And in my mind, that always kind of manifests itself in two different ways, although I heard more ways today. But I tend to think of, when I think of business growth, I think of new markets and I think of new customers. And so I'm thinking more externally. And we heard from our panelists a lot of really good input about internally, how do I grow my business? How do I grow the assets that I have, whether that's technology, whether that's people, whether that's the introduction of new equity capital. So that was a lot of interesting sessions there. When I think of markets, I think of the world. And I know a lot of our partners, particularly groups like Enterprise Florida, are trying to help our companies do a better job of exporting and finding those markets that exist out there. And that's really key to the success. I also think about in country, where else in the other 49 states can we use and distribute our products, if you will. And that really does a lot, even though it's not outside the country, it's outside the state, and it does a lot to foster our economy. And finally, things in our backyard. And, we have a lot of industry, defense, commercial space, aerospace that are on the rise. Transportation, you heard Adrian talk about a little bit this morning, that are on the rise. How do we better participate in those? And so, some of the discussions that probably came up during the supply chain session, I wasn't in all the sessions, but came up during that session, are really there to help manufacturers figure out ways into those markets that, again, are in your backyard, somewhere else in the country. And in the case of working with Enterprise Florida and folks like the SBDCs, how do you find those markets elsewhere in the world? When I talk and think about new customers, we heard Adrian mention many times during the conversation that there are a lot of industries in transition. And while you see some grow, some are more stable than others, transportation exploding. There are the things that I think you need to really take a look at. The dynamic of Florida industry is changing. It's not by any means stable. I remember maybe about a year and a half ago, there was an article in Forbes or Fortune, which talked about the 5 biggest expanding markets in manufacturing, and 3 of them are in the state of Florida. So there's an opportunity to grow without having to really look very, very far. So I would encourage you to look at those industries that are in transitions that she mentioned. I would look at who some of those new sector leaders are. She talked about transportation exploding. If you're ever on the Space Coast or you're looking at, like she pointed out, Brevard County, you can see that expansion by the numbers as she did. But those are opportunities for manufacturers, not just in Brevard, but throughout the state, all the way from Pensacola to Key West. And then finally, participation in those existing supply chains. I think that's a real opportunity that's seldom lost. A lot of manufacturing companies, particularly small companies, and we have tons of small companies, begin with very limited sort of market point of view. You know, they get that first customer, the second customer, and the challenge really is expanding beyond that. And, you know, today's facilitator for some of those sessions was Tammy Sweet and Grow Florida, who's really there as an asset to help you understand where that next market is, where that next increment of growth is. Now that you're revenue positive, what's next? How do I really expand my business? So I think, you know, one of the challenges that I think all the manufacturers have is to really take a look at some of the assets that are available to help you grow. And that's really what you see in the form of many of the sponsors that help participate in today's session. So it's, you know, it's one of those, you lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. Those assets are there, and they're there for your benefit. And I would encourage everyone to participate in associations to learn more about who your brother and sister manufacturers are, to learn more about what some business best practices are, and then to look at that ecosystem, those ecosystem partners that we have here, and begin to explore how they can help you with your business growth. With that, I'll be quiet and turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Kevin. And please make sure to join us tomorrow. As Kevin noted earlier, you know, Adrian spoke about those emerging industries. We have an excellent panel tomorrow with 3 companies that are actually in the industries that she listed. They're in that top 10. One is number 7. I think the other one's number 4, and then transportation. So we've got transportation, chemical, and food manufacturing joining us tomorrow to expand on that conversation and those things that Kevin and Adrian just mentioned. So if you still have some time to spare, I know we're running a little bit over time, but I'd like to invite you to join fellow attendees for live networking at the Made in Florida Showcase Expo. Click on the Made in Florida logo on the left side of your screen over here. A new web browser will open, and you can select what region in Florida you'd like to network with, or what sponsor or partner booth you'd like to learn more about. You can jump from booth to booth for the next 30 minutes by going back to the browser that opens when you click on that Made in Florida icon. Live networking will go on for the next 30 minutes. We were going to adjourn it at 11, but since we're running a little bit behind, we'll just keep the clock going for 30 minutes. And we'll see you back here tomorrow for more networking opportunities and for more discussion on how we can advance Florida's manufacturing. Thank you for joining us.